Hello, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to vlearnias. Today we are going to have an editorial discussion dated 14 July 2022 on the perspective of UPSC Civil Service exam. Let us check today what are the important issues. One is the India-South Korea bilateral relationship, which comes in the topic of international relations, global gender gap report in the topic of economics. Let's start the discussion. So the first topic is about gender gap index. What is a contest? India ranks 135 out of 146 in gender gap index. Actually, it is a very poor performance so far as a developing country like India is or aspiring country like India is concerned. So what is the significance of this topic is that it mainly becomes important for your prelims point of view. Along with that, it can be added as a pointer to the main answers. On syllabus, it is mainly related to the issues related to women, population, and also the health. Everywhere we can relate this topic. Let us know more about what is gender gap report. What is global gender gap report? The report, which was first published in 2006 by World Economic Forum, which is a very important. It benchmark about 156 countries. So what is the difference? It does not include all the nations of United Nations, which is very important. On what dimension it makes the report? Mainly on 4 dimensions. One is economic participation, next is educational attainment, health and survival, political empowerment. So what is significance of these 4 factors is that all 4 are very much necessary for a human overall development. Okay, on these 4 factors it is mainly calculated. Okay, what is the range in which this score falls is that between 0 to 1. So 1 means perfect equality and the possible score of 0 is very inequality. Main aim of publishing this report, it mainly tracks the relative gap. So why it is necessary to know the relative gap between men and women? For aspiring country like India or developing country like India, which is in a very aspiring or take-off state, it is very much essential to increase the women's labor force participation and overall women's participation for the development of the economy. So it mainly calculates the relative gap between women and men on the 4 dimensions of health, education, economy, and politics. It acts as a yardstick to find the participation of women in these various aspects. What is the current status? Country is the worst performer in the world in health and survival sub-index. So we know that this index has so many sub-index. Maybe the index will be like this. It has so many sub-index. Even that one important sub-index is health and survival. The country lacks poor performance in this index on the health and survival index, which resulted in the poor ranking for the country. On the current context of pandemic, this poor ranking is very much worrisome. Okay, so whenever we studies about a report, mainly we compare it with our neighborhood, so especially our immediate neighborhood like Bangladesh, Nepal, and Maldives, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and everywhere. The interesting fact is that India is performing very low when compared to these countries. Only the performance of Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan are worse than India. So this is a very pathetic situation so far as concerned. But when relating to the last year ranking, the country ranks increases 5 spots and reaches to 135. But this is not aspired so far. So when we compare about the other scores, we rank 146 in health and survival, 143 in economic participation, 107 in education attainment, and 148 in political empowerment. Score is about 6 to 9, which is the most highest score of in the past 16 years. Progress due to the policy implementation by there is some silver lining so far because of the policy implementation, especially from Niti Aayog and this health index and everything is providing dividend. And also India has the report says that India has recovered in the economic participation and opportunities, but in the overall scenario the employment situation has shrunk for men and women on the background of this pandemic. This table summarizes the whole performance. Global gender gap rank is about 135, economic participation is 143rd rank, education attainment is 107, health and survival becomes 146, and what is World Economic Forum all about? So the important thing is that it is an international organization for public-private corporation. Okay, it is not an intergovernmental. Usually in prelims we will become confused about whether it is international or intergovernmental. So it is an international organization for public-private corporation which was established in 1971 as a not-for-profit foundation. Okay, and is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Its main mandate is to work for the global public interest in upholding highest standard in government. So some other report which is important for the prelims is concerned is Energy Transition Index, Global IT Report, and Global Competitiveness Report. This is exclusively published by World Economic Forum. Okay. Economic Forum also participate in publishing other reports also along with INSET and Cornell University. The other report so far is Global Gender Gap Report, Global Risk Report, and Global Travel and Tourism Report. The next topic is regarding India-South Korea bilateral relationship. It comes in the topic of bilateral and regional global grouping and also the effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest. What about the significance of South Korea? South Korea becomes significant in the current scenario of Indo-Pacific strategy and cultural contact and trade diversification so as far as India is concerned. So according to the author, Seoul has an potential to become the fourth pillar in the Indo-Pacific strategy is so far concerned. The current Indo-Pacific turbulence has reached a peak mainly due to the pandemic and aspiring China. Also, the current war situation has changed the whole geopolitical landscape and global world order. In this aspect, Seoul can play an important role in the Indo-Pacific strategy as far as India is concerned. So what about the historic aspect of India-South Korea relationship? So for the past 5 years, there has been divergence in the relationship between India and South Korea. So what is divergence? Divergence means moving apart. At the same time, convergence means moving together. This is mainly because of the pessimistic policies of South Korea, especially a clear drift from the multilateral security initiatives like Quad by United States, where India was actively participating. At the same time, Seoul was just moving apart. Newly elected Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol has brought a paradigm shift in the foreign and security policies. According to the newly elected president, they want to make South Korea as a global pivotal state anchored in liberal values and rule-based order. That is nothing but they want to emerge as an important stakeholder and player in the Indo-Pacific region. On this aspect, it became very significant for India to keep a pragmatic and positive relationship with South Korea, along with new leadership. For the relationship between India and South Korea is concerned, there are a lot of blockade, especially in the economic ties. The trade between two countries has been slack mainly when South Korea act as a gateway between Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. The trade is very much important. So we are concerned an aspiring country like India. India and South Korea are also trying to upgrade the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, but it has not taken so far. The relationship of South Korea with China is concerned. There is a current strategic policy shift towards China, especially on the trade is concerned. The trade target is about $15 billion by 2030, which is a very huge composition in the bilateral trade is concerned. In the other areas of public health, green energy and digital connectivity is concerned. So there is a very much significance of China, the South Korean relationship. India's relationship with South Korea is concerned. We are very much focused on the defense industries. There is a cooperation between Republic of China and Korea on the trade deal, on the defense deal is concerned, but the lack of political and strategic alignment, lack of political will mainly, has never helped in the further increase of the relationship, especially in the defense and security areas concerned. But the current domain of advanced defense technologies and modern combat system is going to play a significant role in the relationship or trade relationship with the two countries concerned. The key factor in the relationship is the Indo-Pacific outlook. Also, South Korea is playing an active role in some of the activities of the Indian Ocean, mainly on the Malabar exercise. On the coming up of South Korea in the Quad grouping will further increase India's naval footprint in the Indo-Pacific region. Also, along with South Korea and Japan, India can forge a regional security policies concerned. India's legacy in the Indo-Pacific Ocean concerned strategic partner for Japan, Vietnam and Australia. So coming up of South Korea will make South Korea a fourth pillar in the India's Indo-Pacific strategy, which is a very significant paradigm shift of India's position and influence in this region. Also, India can leverage the opportunities of other areas like critical technologies, cyber securities, cyber capacity building, outer space and other awareness program by collaborating with South Korea, which is very much immense for the current strategic situation concern and also for the aspiring technological advancement of the country is concerned, and along with people-to-people cooperation and transfer also possible. The relationship with South Korea is very much important for India on the Indo-Pacific strategy is concerned. But what the real challenge for global geopolitics is that can the South Korea withstand the inevitable Chinese pressure in the region and stick to its new alignment? Since China becomes an immediate neighborhood of South Korea, rise of China is very much significant for the relationship is concerned. An important factor that mainly affect the rise of South Korea is mainly two. One is US and other is North Korea. The political leadership and their ideologies in US has important ramification on the relationship or rise of South Korea is concerned, especially when the coming up of next election. It will be very important to look whether what happens to the relationship further. Between North Korea has completely, especially the peace process has completely collapsed. We know that it is a dictator rule in North Korea, and there are a lot of missile and nuclear tests conducting on the border side, which makes the border area very fragile. I think the borderline is known as 49th parallel. It is very much fragile. It has an important influence on the rise of South Korea in the Indo-Pacific region is concerned. The earlier presidency of Moon or South Korea is concerned, it is completely in the hand of China. China has a very important influence on the South Korean, especially their bilateral relationship and foreign policy is concerned. Korea was made to sign 3 no agreements, which is no additional THAAD, that means terminal high altitude air defense. That means it is a defense system which blocks the high altitude missiles. So they are asking that no additional terminal high altitude air defense will be deployed on South Korea, no participation in the US missiles network, and no establishment of trilateral military alliance, especially with US. What India can do on this aspect? Number 1, India can help in South Korea withstand the Chinese pressure and North Korean threats, especially aspiring a rising power like India can have an economic leverage with South Korea on the region is concerned. 2, an independent, strong, democratic South Korea can be long-term partner. We know that especially India has been the largest democracy, and its partnership with the oldest democracy like US in the Indo-Pacific region is concerned is very much important for the long-term relationship with South Korea. And also having a new partnership can have a long-term positive impact between both countries in the Indo-Pacific region is concerned. So let us look at the historical aspect of India-South Korea bilateral relationship. Bilateral relationship between India and South Korea, officially known as Republic of Korea, was established in 1962. So it was officially established in 1962 and upgraded to ambassador level in 1973. South Korea's open market policies found resonate with India's economic liberalization and its Look East and Act East policy, especially on Southeast Asia and the Look East and Act East policies. The relationship with South Korea can play an important role. The relationship become truly multi-dimensional. In the current scenario, the relationship has truly become a multi-dimensional, especially it has ended as a special strategic partnership with PM Modi's visit on May 2015. President Moon on India's visit marked the 45th anniversary of foreign diplomatic ties. Comes why India is important for South Korea. So especially the important factor is the strategical aspect and rise of Indo-Pacific region and the emergence of India as an important economic power and a military power also. So a strategical aspect, India is very much important for South Korea, and also South Korea has found a trusted partner in India, especially on the fragile relationship with China. Because China's close to North Korea is become a headache to South Korea. India doesn't have edges which can create problem for them. So far in the historical aspect also, India don't have much leverage to irritate the relationship between the two, that is South Korea and India. The new issues cropping up in ties of China and America and export-driven South Korea must find a new market, especially and India becoming the world's largest population. South Korea can find an important market or trade partner in India, especially product like Toyota and other automobiles has important market in India. South Korea's economic growth has slowed, presenting it in the important challenges. The current pandemic situation, the economic growth has become very slow, South Korea is concerned. Korea is targeting the economics with great growth potential. Currently, India is in the takeoff stage, which is very significant for any country, and South Korea is targeting India as an important growth partner, especially on the defense, aerospace, and other critical technology is concerned. So then there is a need for cooperation development between two countries, the further development of their future relationship.